Sup, my name is Ryu for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. Welcome to Coffee Time. And before this Coffee Time gets completely started, we're talking about Monarchs and their impact that they just had over in Germany at 240-player regional. Before we get into that, I'm going to give a quick little update to I can't even pronounce it right. This is subscribers, my God. I'm sorry. If you're not interested in that, you can just skip ahead. For those who are, thank you, number one. Number two, been dealing with the flu the past few days, hence there's been no uploads, even though there's been content created that I could have released. I've just been feeling so out of it. It was hard enough the past couple of days just trying to get council gaming videos out. That was just, I don't know why, that felt more important to me at the moment. I felt less like I had to use my brain less than I do here on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. So that just, that's how it is. I guess here I try to phrase things a little bit better because a lot of the stuff I'm doing is discussion-wise. So, with that all said, God, it feels good to be back. Let's talk about this. There's a YouTube link I'm going to leave down in the description above all my YouTube links. All my social media shit. And I'll also leave a link to ARG's Facebook page. This was actually published on the 31st of January. I've been wanting to talk about it ever since. I haven't been able to. Obviously, you may be able to still hear it. I'm a little bit right now. But I'm okay. I'm pulling through. So let's talk about Mega Monarchs. Did anyone expect them atop? I mean, I knew there would be a thing, but I don't know. I kind of looked at the deck more like a fun aspect stun, kind of thing. I figured, it did have potential top, but I figured Pepe would be, the end all be all. I guess I was wrong. I will always come out and say when I'm wrong. So there's a few things here I want to break down during his deck that are interesting choices, like Dark Arm Dragon and the one Mega Caius and the one Majesty's Fiend with no Vanity's Fiend. Now, I will say he does have the Maxis and the Veiler, which is pretty standard for TCG. That's pretty standard when you want to go competitive. I understand that much, trust me. The one Karaz. Here's the thing with Karaz, for those who don't understand Karaz, the light Mega Monarch comes out and brings out a Mega Monarch. Brings out a Monarch. Why am I saying a Mega Monarch? It brings out a Monarch, and it brings out Karaz, and it disrupts the opponent. Now, it doesn't matter if they're drawing cards as long as it disrupts their giant play. You have to time it right. It's a very skill-based kind of card to play. I know that's hard to take in, that there's skill still in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's just fucking unbelievable. God, I'm making myself laugh too hard. But when it comes down to it, in all seriousness, the deck locks your opponent out from doing pretty much anything. That's the play style of the deck. And when you look at that, then you can pretty much understand why. The deck's able to manage its graveyard pretty easy. He even said that Dark Arm worked really well from him. I watched the video. I think I watched the video. I know I read and watched it. Pretty sure I did. You could tutor Return of the Monarchs, which is searchable through the Draw Power card. Easy to understand. 3 of the field to lock down the extra decks. No Zaborgs. No Vanity's main, because I did call it Majesty's is better against what the meta actually is right now. Majesty's is a better monster to lead off with than Vanity's. Not saying Vanity's is bad, I'm just saying in general. Majesty's a little bit harder to get over with the protection if you don't have the right cards in hand. The one Mega Caius is interesting to me because I wasn't expecting the one Mega Caius. And if you count his tribute cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I want to say 9, and then Dark Arm is close to 10. That's usually around the TCG ratio. It's usually around the ratio if you're playing more serious. His side deck was actually really interesting, which you're probably seeing on screen here. The fact that there's no main deck MSTs, and he went undefeated. Mind you, in a 240-player regionals in Germany, he went undefeated. I don't know if we're going to see that here in America, because America is a very, very different, diverse kind of thing when it comes to any deck that tops anywhere else. Because with America, we're pretty much set in our ways, and we're going to run the deck this way, and If it works out, then it works out. And not to bash anyone in that sense. I don't want you thinking I'm bashing anyone. But Kaiser Coliseum, props. I like how he ran Dark Holes and Raigeki, because Cyber Dragon Infinity is a fucking thing, but Forbidden Chalice is pretty much the out to Cyber Dragon Infinity, and that's one of the things, even if you're not a competitive player, you should take away from this goddamn video, is Forbidden Chalice is so good at stopping that goddamn Cyber Dragon Infinity right now. And yes, I do own a Cyber Dragon Infinity now. If you want, I'll show it on camera, because I can. In all seriousness, he did run the 2 Vanities in the side for when he needed them. He did run the second Majesties in the side for when he needed them. His deck was built, for him, with obviously certain Monarch things. But Monarchs as a whole, constantly topping, I don't know, because Cosmos have a really great matchup against them. They're not reliant on the extra deck. They're not reliant, they're just a good, solid main deck. And Majesty's Fiend is pretty much like, and this is why I was talking so highly of Majesty's Fiend. Unless you have something to jump over Majesty's Fiend, a lot of the Cosmos stuff is really going to get slowed down. I'm not saying it's going to get completely stopped. It's going to get slowed down. And that's exactly what Monarchs need to control the board. Is for you to be slowed down, for them to have, their build up, and then they could just take it over, The one thing I will say, though, is Majesties over Vanities when it comes to the Mermail matchup, for sure. For goddamn sure. Majesties is 10 times better in that matchup than Vanities ever hopes to be. And I think what we're seeing take away from not just Monarchs as a whole, but as Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, is not just a power creep, but we're seeing a shift again, as where it used to be, okay, what can I spit out of my extra deck? Now it's, how good is my main deck? If you look at the top 4 decks right now, and I'm going to use the following examples as I count top 4. Burning Abyss is up there too, so I guess we'll count 5. Mermail, Burning Abyss, Monarchs, Pepe, and goddamn, I can't remember the last one, I just said it, Cosmos. All 5 of those decks have one thing in common: a really, really strong main deck. They don't, now granted, they will use their extra deck when needed, but here's my point across the board. Their main deck cards are so damn strong when it comes to the toolbox. They're not relying on their extra deck to be the toolbox. So what we're actually seeing right now, and this is again another takeaway from the video, is a shift in the game. And Monarchs are just another step in that direction. I feel like Deities are kind of like the opposite of that, because they do focus on burning stuff out of their extra deck. Now, my research on that is not completely there yet, so I'm not going to 100% say, yeah, this is how it is. I'm not going to. I'm not. But again, Monarchs have this very interesting situation where they can take out Mermails with ease, they can take out Burning Abyss with ease, Majesty's Fiend with protection, and they can deal with pretty much a good chunk of crap that's not called Cosmos. Cosmos do have the best matchup against them. They really do. I don't know if people are not playing enough Cosmos, or how many Cosmos were played at the event, or he just understood his Cosmo matchup and he just controlled the board for it. I'm not completely sure. I can't, 100% say that we're going to see this trend with Monarchs where they're constantly topping. But there are some interesting takeaways, like the one regular Caius with the one Mega Caius. That, I'm not gonna lie, that made me giggle a little bit, because I was like, okay, I like that Mega Caius, but I like that regular Caius a little bit more. And it did make me laugh just a little bit, but it was really cool to see that. Foolish Burial is pretty interesting, I'm not even gonna lie. I could easily see why he ran Foolish Burial. You get in those situations, you need just that one monster on the board, you have the field, you just play Foolish Burial, you get it right into the freaking board with no issue. That, or maybe he had another reason I'm not seeing it. Maybe he wanted to send the zombie one to the graveyard, then ditch any other Monarch card. He comes back to the hand. Hey, look, I just recruited a Monarch from my deck like a fucking Rhoda. And it is actually pretty viable little tactic right there. But for me, I'm not sure. I want to say Monarchs are like tier 1.5. And I know it's probably going to piss some people off, but it's cool. It just, they have a really strong matchup because they just come out the gate saying you can't play your extra deck. And they come out the gate and they just disrupt you on your opponent, on your turn. The Monarch Storm 4th with the trap card and the Aether, it's just disgusting of a play. You tribute your opponent's crap, you destroy their back row. In the end phase, you're like, hey, go ahead, draw 2 cards. It doesn't matter. We're done here. I have all this protection. And that's like, I don't know if people are just not on the Karaz hype right now, or they don't give a shit about Karaz. But it's just like, that whole sense still happens. That whole thing is still there. And you could also run Jinzo. So there is that too. If the meta became so trap heavy, the deck's got the flexibility to run Jinzo. Like no one's fucking business. And if the deck, it just, it's mind-blowing. When you sit down and you think about all the different ways Monarchs could actually be built in terms of tech and whatnot. I know people are going, you can't run tech. He ran Dark Arm. You can run at least 1 tech card. There's that. Excuse me. So there's a lot of takeaway from this, which is the Forbidden Chalice is your Cyber Dragon pooper. It's so good. I'm also surprised. I'm not also surprised. I should also be mentioning that Cyber Dragon plus Chimera Tech is another out to the Cyber Dragon Infinity, but I think most of you already know that. So, take it what you will. I honestly think Monarchs are still up there, but I can't see them saying meta relevant for too long. Because it's kind of one of those, okay, how do we side against this deck? Anti-Spell Fragrance, Chain Disappearance. Mainly Chain Disappearance, because let's be honest with each other. Once you hit Chain Disappearance and you got the Anti-Spell Fragrance, they're not going to have much ways of getting their monsters out, and they're going to have to play that Caress. They're going to have to get them to the hand, and it just... There's ways of stopping the deck, so have faith. But like I said, the takeaway from the whole video as a whole is that Mega Monarchs are here to stay. They are still going to be a thing. I don't know how good they're going to be. I can't even speak right because I can't even think right. How good they're going to be in the meta, but they're going to be here for a long time. So better get used to it. Make sure your main deck is strong, and you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. But that's all I really got to say right now. I'm going to leave it off on that. If this comes out a little bit short, or shorter, much shorter than it typically is, you have my apologies, but I'm still a little bit exhausted. I'm trying to just get back into the swing of making videos for you guys again. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe for more. Coffee Time usually airs every Monday, but because I was sick, I wanted to make it up for you guys. Even though it's Tuesday, I'm not sure if it's going out today. Even though it's Tuesday when I record this, I wanted to make sure that you guys still had something that you're so familiar with every single week. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, you're new, make sure to subscribe for more. Because I always try to get out content, I always try to stay in tune with you guys. You can always check the Facebook page if you don't know what's going on with me. It's pretty much the go-to source. And I will see you later.